What is going on, everybody? My name is Tatro, and today is a very good day because there's a new launch key on the block. This here is the Launch Key 37. It's one of a few different launch keys from Novation that just dropped. If you all remember, the Launch Key Mini actually dropped a few months ago. And it's really been one of my favorite controllers ever since. Really amazing Ableton DAW functionality and just an amazing portable controller. But now, Novation has essentially launched the new versions of their full-size launch key keyboards. So this is the 37 key version, but they also have a 25, 49, and 61 key version. All with the same great functionality, but with more full-size keys. Now, I asked Novation specifically for this 37 key version because you don't see 37 keys that often, and I wanted to get a feel for the form factor. So today I'm going to be unboxing the new launch key and giving a brief overview and tour of some of the features. But first things first, if you enjoy live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content to make you a more productive producer, click the subscribe button down below. I post videos every week with controllers like the launch key, and I'm going to be posting more videos in the coming weeks with this launch key specifically, showing you how to use it if you choose to pick one up. And if not, I've got lots of other controllers that I do tutorials on too. All right, let's get into unboxing the Launch Key 37. I just want to say real quick that Novation in their packaging, they've gotten really good at making a box no larger than the product. So it's the perfect size for the product, which means less materials, less waste. And also they don't fill it with a bunch of junk. 2 small styrofoam pieces, the product, and usually just the cable that it comes with. Good for me making a mess in the studio, also good for the environment. We have our USB cable, USB type B, I believe that's called. And we've got the launch key. Smooth, like really nice build quality, solid weight to it. It is made of plastic, but it's got a heavier feel to it. It's not a cheap feeling plastic. And it has a matte finish. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's not too shiny. That's one of the first things that I see here. Little piece of foam under the key bed. It's got really easy key action. Smooth pitch and mod wheels. 8 knobs on top. We've got our pads that supposedly have improved velocity sensitivity. A bunch of function buttons that we're gonna get into. We've got MIDI out on the back, huge plus. That's a 5-pin MIDI connector, the USB port, and a sustain port. But this is probably the most important part of the unboxing. Let's get the mic right there. Screen. I'm very curious to see what this screen looks like. My impressions so far of the 37 key bed form factor, it's pretty nice. I mean, to give it a comparison in length, I have my SL Mark III, which is a 49 key keyboard. So there's the difference in length for you. It's essentially, it's more portable than a longer keyboard, but most portable keyboards have 25 keys. So this is a one step up option that's kind of fitting in the middle in that awkward space between 25 and 49. But as you can see, I could play a full chord with 2 hands here, which is a really good feeling. I of course would have to change around some keyboard voicings as I was playing because of the limited keys, but it's something that I can work with, and it's more than 25. Let's go ahead and plug this in and see what it looks like when we turn it on. Nice RGB lighting, backlit pads. Let me see if I go ahead and open up Ableton. Boom. We are completely synced up with Ableton Live, and we've got a few functions that we can now use. So of course I can play notes. You know, that's the typical function of a keyboard, right? But then we will notice the pads are illuminated. And that's our clip launching. If you're familiar with Ableton Live, you know that that's a main function of Ableton Live's session view, is being able to launch and record clips. Think of them as little loops. So here's a little shaker loop and another little shaker loop. You'll notice that these clip colors on the pads here reflect the colors on the screen. Now here I have access to 2 rows of clips or scenes in Ableton Live, but I can also turn this bottom row into stop, solo, or mute. So stop being red, I can go ahead and stop the clip playing on that channel. I could also go ahead and solo it or turn it on and off, mute it. And then back to just having 2 rows of clips. I can use this button right here to launch the scene. I only have 1 clip in that row now, but that would launch the entire row of musical ideas. And you know, while we have this loop playing, let me use the track button to go over to my keyboard instrument, which is now armed. We can tell because it's red. And let's just try to record a musical idea. Use the record button right here to record onto this empty clip slot. I could also just touch the empty clip slot. There I have a clip. I might have played it a little off time though. You can see by my grid here. Luckily the launch key has a quantize button, which will snap everything to the grid. If I wanted to listen to a metronome, just use the click button. And say I just didn't like the quantization that just happened, went ahead and pressed the undo button, and it switched right back. But let's go ahead and quantize. Of course I can stop using the transport controls. I can also press play. Let me go ahead and turn this click off. And I want to show you guys another feature that Novation has been incorporating into a lot of their keyboards. Launch Key Mini, SL, and now this new launch key. It's called Capture MIDI, which is a function of Ableton Live, but there is a dedicated Capture MIDI button here. So to demonstrate how this works, I'm actually going to stop the clip we just recorded. And I'm going to click on that little empty clip slot there and just pretend we're coming up with ideas. So I'll hit play so I can hear that little shaker loop. And you know, maybe I'm noodling around coming up with some ideas. I kind of like that, but I didn't record it. If I hit Capture MIDI, it's actually been recording the whole time and it caught the idea for me. So you're no longer going to be able to lose musical ideas because you didn't hit record. We can use the 8 knobs at the top for a bunch of different functions. Right now, they're currently set to control devices in Ableton Live. So right now, on my keyboard instrument, I've got my basic audio processing rack, which I did a whole tutorial on how to create. But these knobs are automatically linked up with those 8 knobs. We can tell because the blue hand is here. And then as I start to change something like, say, the low cut, let's bring the reverb up. But that's not the only thing these knobs can do. If we hold Shift, then we can change them to these different functions here. So we've got text right above the pads, device, volume, pan, and sends, as well as 4 custom mappings, which we can use and choose from ourselves. So of course, volume is obvious. It's going to adjust our track volumes. Holding Shift again, we can adjust the panning. Shift one more time, and we can control the sends. So lots of functionality there to be able to use those pads. The bigger versions of the launch keys actually come with faders on them, so you have that added layer of control. But for a smaller keyboard like this, to be able to use 8 knobs in several different ways is really helpful. Same goes for these pads. The pads all have multifunctions as well. So if I hold Shift, I can either control the session view, which is what I'm doing right now with launching clips. I can also go to drums, and now I can actually, it's meant for drums, but it's controlling my instrument right now. But I do have a drum rack loaded up, which I can hit track and go over to. Notice that the pads change depending on the color of the instrument you're on, which is really cool in this mode. Cool. Very nice sensitivity on these pads. You can hear that difference there. Velocity sensitivity. So the harder I hit it, the louder the sound. The softer I hit it, the softer the sound. Let's go ahead and layer a drum sound on top of what we already have. quantize. And there we go, we're rocking and rolling with drums. That's the second function of the pads. We can also adjust our different chords and our different scales, which I'm going to get into in a future video. A very cool function they've added onto this launch key is the scale mode. If you know anything about keyboard and you just watched my hands, you know that I just played a C major scale, but it sounded like a C minor scale because that is what our scale is set to. And it appears our pads here are actually playing the chords in that key. Whoa, this is me just playing with it first out of the box, and I definitely want to dive deeper into that feature. But that's cool. Very useful function. Can't wait to dive deeper into that. That's a brief look at the scale mode. Arpeggiator. If you've used the Launch Key Mini Mark III, you know that it has a really cool arpeggiator on it, and this one. And this one is no different. Of course, if I hold the ARP button, I can change the things like direction, down, up, up, down. And different things like the rate. And that will all be synced up with the DAW's tempo. Like most keyboards, we've got a pitch and mod wheel. And two other cool buttons here. So if you've got a track that has multiple devices on it, it can be really hard sometimes to navigate multiple devices when you have limited controls on a controller. But there is a device select button here, which it seems, if I'm on a track, will allow me to select and scroll through my different devices, which is very, very useful. So here I'm on the basic audio processing rack. I can scroll through and actually be controlling all these different things. So here I am, Blue Hand is now on the utility. And then it's going through all the different controls on the rack. Now I'm in the Now I'm controlling the parameters of the instrument. I haven't messed with the MIDI out features yet, but that is going to be very, very handy for hooking up to some outboard gear. Maybe I'll hook it up to my Model Cycles or my Novation Circuit. Sustain pedal, obviously, for those piano players that need the sustain, or if you want to get crazy and map it for some MIDI functions, maybe we'll do that in the future. But I've done a lot of talking with the new Launch Key 37, and I know there's those folks in the comments that just want to see it in action. So actually, let's go ahead and take this out on the road and make a proper beat with the Launch Key 37. Alright, so I've got the Launch Key 37 and we are out at the abandoned zoo in Los Angeles, so the old zoo, which I didn't even know was a thing, but it's my parents' last day here and my dad has been asking to go to this place all week. So here we are, and it seems like the perfect spot to make a beat video with the Launch Key 37. So let's find some cool spots, take some cool shots, and I even have the drone with me. Alright guys, so I am a new resident of the state of California, and it's gorgeous out here. This is probably one of the best spots that we found so far. And there were really dope spaces to shoot the launch key with, which I'm sure you just saw. But for now, let's head back to the studio and I can give you my final thoughts and impressions on the Launch Key 37. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that first look at the new Launch Key 37. Check out the other versions too, the 25, 49, and the 61, and see if they have added functionality that you actually like, or a bigger form factor that you might even like. I'm going to dive deeper into some of these features. I know I didn't really talk too much about the chord mode or the scale mode, and I want to learn a little bit more before I dive too deeply into it, but so far really loving this controller. And you guys know Novation sends me stuff all the time. They sent me this and I've worked with them for a while, but not before I was using their controllers and making stuff on my own before ever talking to anybody at the company. So it kind of makes a lot of sense that they would continue to make really great hardware. So who is this controller for specifically? Well, if you want a really amazing Ableton integrated keyboard controller for your studio and you want a larger size, full size keys, not the mini, this is for you. If Ableton is your main DAW, look no further, and you want a keyboard that goes on your desk or maybe you can take out on the road, because 37 is pretty portable. It's also for mostly in the box producers. It does have one MIDI out port, but if you were like a straight up hardware producer or a musician performer, I would recommend kind of the older brother to this, the SL Mark III, which has its own sequencer and a lot more MIDI in and out capability, stuff that I don't use super often, not yet, at least someday maybe, but a lot more for the outboard gear on the SL Mark III, a lot more for the in-the-box Ableton producer on the Launch Key 37. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more videos with this Launch Key and a bunch of other MIDI controllers that you'll probably enjoy, making beats, live sessions, tutorials, anything you could possibly need when it comes to Ableton, controllerism, electronic music, do streams, do videos, all of it. So make sure you subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up and let me know in a comment what you think of the new Novation launch keys. This has been Teitro. Have a good one.